However needlessly cruel and inhumane you think ICE can be, I promise you they can be more so. A headline from today: ICE agents abandon child on street after arresting adult, video shows. A child was reportedly left alone on the street during a federal immigration operation in Waltham, Massachusetts. Let me show you a clip from the local news.
Boy left by himself on a Waltham sidewalk after ICE agents take away the adult with him.
It makes me feel sick to my stomach as a mom, as a human being.
Waltham City Councilor Colleen Bradley MacArthur was on Felton Street recording these videos as it happened.
If we weren't there, he would have just been left on the sidewalk.
I'm going to get back to that video in just a second because there's two key things that happen later in that interview that you need to be aware of. They are patterns that are happening with ICE. So Waltham City Councilor Colleen Bradley MacArthur, that was interviewed in that clip, was out walking the neighborhood with the neighborhood watch. She reported that masked officers had blocked the road with several vehicles. They arrested an adult and left a 12-year-old boy abandoned on the sidewalk. If Neighborhood Watch had not been there, who knows what would have happened. Before I get to the next part of this story, do you notice how the city councilor and folks who live in that neighborhood are part of the Neighborhood Watch? Communities all over the country, especially in places like Massachusetts that ICE has been targeting, are forming neighborhood watch groups, not to look out for crime from private individuals, but to look out for ICE terrorizing members of the community. They are there to document what ICE is doing to immigrants. They are there to document the illegal actions of this regime. And they're there to try and protect residents of the community, like this 12-year-old boy that was abandoned. Could you imagine being this kid and your loved one is hauled off by ICE, shoved into the back of a car? Actually, you don't even know if they're ICE because they won't identify themselves and they're all wearing masks. Shoved into the back of the car and you're just like left alone on the street. Because it's relevant every time I talk about ICE, I will once again quote Anne Frank from her diary entry in January 1943. Families are torn apart. Men, women, and children are separated. Children come home from school to find that their parents have disappeared. That was Germany in 1943, and it is happening today in America 2025. If you are worried about the vulnerable members of your community, I encourage you to form a neighborhood watch group like this one in Waltham, Massachusetts. The government is not protecting us. The government is terrorizing us. And we, the people, we have to look out for our neighbors now. Speaking of ICE terrorizing communities all over this country, let me show you what happens next in this interview.
If we weren't there, he would have just been left on the sidewalk.
Instead, she says Neighborhood Watch volunteers walked him home. They patrolled the streets in these pink vests, and they were there that day as ICE agents watched them.
They rolled their windows down and had their cell phones and were recording us and taking pictures of us.
You said at one point a car drove at you?
Yes, I was standing on the sidewalk over in the corner. I could tell what he was doing. He was trying to intimidate me with his car.
When that agent got out of his vehicle, she asked,
"Which agency are you with? You need to tell me. It's the law. You're supposed to tell me who you're with." He didn't answer and then turned around and shouted,
"You need to stand back and not interfere."
"I'm not interfering. I'm observing, and legally I am allowed to."
She says by law, federal agents must identify who they are with, and by state law, local law enforcement cannot assist.
There's more to that interview. You can find it on WBZ Boston's website and also on their Twitter from May 13th. When I said that ICE is the Gestapo of the United States, I'm not fucking kidding. You notice how all of these guys, they have their faces covered. If what they are doing is legal and they are not ashamed of it and they are not afraid that they will face accountability in the years to come, and so they don't want to be identified, why are they covering up their faces? They don't want to be held accountable for what they're doing because they know that it's cruel and it's illegal. They are required by law to identify what law enforcement agency they are working with. But they're not, because there's actually been a lot of speculation from many sources that a lot of these guys might not be with ICE. We don't know who they're with. They don't show warrants. They don't show evidence of who they work for. We don't know who they are. Are they pardoned Proud Boys and Oath Keepers? Do they have any authority to be there? Where are they taking these people? In 2025, in the United States of America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, masked men who will not identify who they work for and will not present warrants are snatching people off the street and disappearing them, and leaving their children standing alone on a public street. Trump tries to tell all of his followers that he's just rounding up gang members. And yet they claim they've deported 152,000 people so far. I have no idea if those numbers are accurate because they're coming from the Trump regime. But are you fucking kidding me? There's not 152,000 gang members in the United States. Do you know what there's hundreds of thousands of? Migrants who are here quietly living their lives, working, paying taxes, contributing to the economy. If Trump is truly just rounding up violent thugs and gang members, why did we watch a 16-year-old girl in Worcester, Massachusetts, a young mother with a 2-month-old baby, get rounded up by ICE last week? These are regular, working-class people trying to quietly live their lives in the United States. These are our neighbors. The cruelty of this regime knows no bounds because the cruelty is the point. They are trying to terrorize and intimidate immigrants, and very quickly they are moving to escalate to intimidate and terrorize American citizens. Authoritarians work on threats and intimidation, on bullying, on terror. And as you could see from this video clip, these supposed law enforcement agents who would not identify themselves, they're trying to intimidate American citizens who are documenting what is happening, who are not breaking the law. They're running their cop cars up in front of them. They're shouting at them. They're trying to intimidate you and me into not standing up for our immigrant neighbors. They're trying to intimidate you and me to go back to our houses, to be quiet, to not document what's happening, to not share it with the world. America's immigrants are not the violent thugs. It's these masked men who show up in unmarked cars, kidnap people off the street, and chuck them in the back of the car and drive away. These men who will not show their faces because they know what they're doing is illegal and they know that they will face accountability for it in the coming years. These men who will not identify who they are and who they work for. These men who try to threaten and intimidate American citizens and who want to terrorize migrants. These are the violent thugs in our communities. And this is being paid for with our taxpayer dollars. They want to enact this reign of terror in every neighborhood, in every city, in every state across America. Do you remember ICE Director Homan said that he envisions a system that's just like Amazon, but instead of trucks shipping packages, he wants them shipping human beings. He said that he wants family detention centers like the Japanese internment camps we had in World War II. There are already thousands of children in ICE custody in Texas and Louisiana. Not gang members, little children taken away from their family. What are we doing, America? Is this who we are? We are living the first they came for poem right now. How far are you going to let it escalate? Are you going to wait until they come for you? After they rounded up all the migrants, including all of the women and children, and disappeared them to God knows where, while using billions of our taxpayer dollars to fund this reign of terror, and they then move on to disabled people and trans people and queer people. And they then move on to American citizens that they say are not friendly to this regime. When they come for your coworkers, members of your church congregation, your siblings, your own children, when will it be far enough for you to act? Because please understand, authoritarian regimes have one trajectory, and that is always the escalation of violence and repression. There is no path out of this toward freedom and humanity unless we make one.